Would you look who it is? Billionaire investor Ron Baron, whose funds collectively hold billions of dollars of assets. A long-term investor, long-term Tesla shareholder, who not only owns Tesla, has a huge position in many of the Baron Capital funds, but also himself owns well over $1 billion of Tesla stock personally. This is a guy who clearly puts his money where his mouth is. Sees a very positive future for Tesla, and also has a habit of accidentally, potentially leaking things that he heard at a private meeting with Tesla that isn't publicly available information. So fingers crossed we might get another slip up pertaining to future goals, targets, and so on. But regardless, let's see what Ron has to say first about Elon Musk's compensation. By the way, I've got a funny feeling that Ron isn't a communist, so I've got a funny feeling he'll be quite supportive of Musk's fairly earned compensation being ratified. Let's find out.
Our next guest is going to be weighing in on Elon Musk and Tesla, the markets, and much more. We want to welcome billionaire investor Ron Baron of Baron Capital, the chairman and CEO there. And Ron, it's always great to see you. Thank you for coming in today.
Judy said don't use the word billionaire.
You didn't. You didn't. Unfortunately, we did, because we have to call it like it is.
All right, multi-billionaire. Fine.
Yeah. There you go.
So before we talk about this, I just want to know, did you guys see over the weekend the article on the front page of the New York Times? Do you read the New York Times at all?
No.
Yes, I do.
So passing by a newsstand, you could have seen it.
Needles in my eyes.
You could have seen it. And basically it was talking about how Elon has brought the internet, broadband, satellite, to the Amazon in Brazil. Brought to the Amazon. People don't have clothes, and now they have the Amazon. Now they have the internet.
By the way, I personally have spent time in the Amazon jungle, deep in the Amazon, and can confirm, outside of some of the major cities, people living deep in the Amazon jungle don't have shit. Clothes? Good luck. Tools, conveniences, internet, electricity, running water? No. Fuck all. And it's very important to understand that access to information is the master key to unlocking a higher standard of living, to improving local communities, to unlocking opportunity, to engaging in commerce, to learning, education. You can learn just about anything via the internet if only you have a connection. This is a really big deal. I explored some of South America a few years ago and also spent time in mountain villages in Peru where they had no internet access, no mobile or cellular phone. They had no communication with the outside world, completely isolated. All the while, I'm just thinking to myself, man, if these people had internet access, holy shit, what a difference it would make. Even just being able to sell some of the stuff that they produce online, some of the goods, to engage in commerce and trade. Everything flows from access to information. And I mean everything. Human civilization today has been built upon thousands and thousands of years of knowledge. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. If people have access to information, they can lift themselves out of poverty. Today, roughly half the world still does not have access to reliable or even any internet. Now think about that for a moment. Statistically speaking, that means there's got to be at least one other Elon Musk out there who doesn't have access to information, to technology, to tools, and doesn't have the opportunity to make the same impact as actual Elon Musk has. And in the fullness of time, Starlink broadband internet, providing access to people who previously had none, is going to go down as one of the most positive impacts that any company, any technology, any service has ever had on humanity globally. And the audacity to pull this off.
Unbelievable what he's done. Unbelievable. Changing the world.
You know, it's been a big deal in Ukraine, too, on the war front. Hey, before we jump into what you think about Tesla and the pay package, whether you're going to vote in support of that, why don't we talk about how much you own? Because I was looking, and it looks like I've known you've been a very long time holder. Some of your funds own 2.7%, 3%, 2.8%. The Baron Partners Fund is almost 30% long position in Tesla. So you are a massive shareholder.
It's also $13 cost. So, you know, so we've owned.
Low-key flex, but not actually, but actually. That's one way to point out the colossal return. By the way, credit to Ron. Many of my Tesla shares purchased also have a cost of about $13 a share. But this is also to explain why it's such a large position in the Baron Partners Fund. It's not like Ron bought Tesla up to a 30% allocation. It's just he bought a fuckload of Tesla and then Tesla went up a fuckload and now suddenly it's a fuckload of the entire fund. In unrelated matters, just for what it's worth, last I checked, Tesla's stock accounts for about 90% of my net worth.
Owned it since 2014, 2016. Between 2014, so I met him in 2010. Mm-hmm. 2014 and 16, it took me 4 years. He said, what took you so long 2014 to 16, we invested $400 million, made about $5 billion at the peak. Now we made about $4 billion, sold about a quarter of our stock 3 years ago.
How much do you hold now, though, in total? How many shares?
I don't remember the number, but it's a big percentage of our assets. It's 7 or 8% of our assets in total.
So what do you think about this pay package? This is a pay package that shareholders approved once this Delaware judge has overturned it, and now it's going back to the shareholders again. How will you vote your shares?
We're voting for the package. But before I talk about that, there's 3 things I want to discuss with you today. Number 1 is contracts, of course. Then I want to talk about Elon's ecosystem, all the different things he's doing. And then Elon, I want to talk about that, what he's accomplished. So about the contract. So first of all, he was, when we started, these numbers are pretty cool. When we started, when I met him in 2010, they were doing 2,000 cars a year. And then in 2014, it was 31,000 cars. That's when we started buying. In 2016, 76,000 cars. And last year, 1.8 million. So significant growth. And he made promises if he met these metrics of EBITDA, of revenues, of market cap, that he would get this extraordinary compensation. And the compensation, when he started, when the contract was signed, it was the company's market value was $53 billion. It got as high as $1 trillion. And it's now $550 billion. I think in the next 10 years, we're probably going to make 4 or 5 times our money again in Tesla. So he's created tremendous wealth for people, and he was paid, if this contract is enforced, which I think it should be, he's paid $56 billion. So it's like winning the lottery, if you, and Joe was talking about before, you win the lottery, you don't tell someone, oh, I'm sorry, you won so much money, you have to give it back.
I remember thinking at the time that the compensation deal was a crazy setup, but I also remember thinking at the time that I never thought he'd hit any of the metrics.
No one
He's
did.
hit every one of the metrics. So it's hard to imagine taking that back and clawing it back.
Exactly. And so that's exactly how we viewed it. I said, man, if he hits this is fantastic. We're going to do so well. And again, he should have another contract going from this point going forward, where it's incented the same way, I'm hoping. So number 1, the contract. So 73% in 2018, 73% of the investors approved it.
Now, this is true. Almost 3/4. And this is important. The will of the people, democratic process, Tesla shareholders overwhelmingly voted in favor of this. Tesla shareholders, the people who actually own that equivalent percentage of the company. You understand, right? You don't own a stock, you own a share of a company. 73% of the company's owners, based on total share count, agreed to this compensation package. Just for context, a typical US presidential election, assuming no late mail arrives, is usually a very close race where just over 50% of the votes cast for the 2 leading candidates end up going one way or another, as opposed to, let's say, 73% voting for one candidate, 27% for the other. Presidents are decided over much finer margins. This was overwhelming support, 73% of shareholders. By the way, that was such a weird comment about mail. I don't know why I said that. So anyway, I can't help but poke the bear. Shareholders vote for this. And then a corrupt activist, masquerading as a judge in Delaware, years after the fact, more than half a decade later, spits in the face of Tesla investors and says, fuck you guys. Your will, your opinion, your desires don't matter. I'm going to fuck you, fuck Elon, fuck democracy, and spit in the face of capitalism, compensation, and reward. It's outrageous that this even happened. Outrageous is an understatement. Yet here we are. It's pretty simple. A deal's a deal. Unless, of course, the deal is made with Elon bad, in which case, fuck that guy, Elon bad. Did you get the memo? Yeah, Elon bad? Okay, cool. How can we fuck this guy harder from another direction? Oh, let's rob him of his fairly earned compensation. But don't worry, this definitely has not come from the top at the Biden administration. That's a coincidence.
All of the disinterested parties who are directors, they improved it. And the people he has who are directors, these are not, flakes. They are Larry Ellison, one of the wealthiest men in the world, Hiro Mizuno. He was the head of the Japanese, pension fund, the largest pension fund in the world, $1.5 trillion. Kathleen Thomas, Walgreens, Boots. So he had really, and of course, Robin Denholm, who came later. But they all approved this, and they all thought this was a fair agreement. So basically, number 1, all the disinterested directors approved it. Number two, that's the will of the company. The will of the company and the will of the shareholders, so I think he should be, it's a legally binding contract. And then who sued? You had an individual who was a shareholder for hire with 9 shares, sued. And it took him 5 years to get the derivative suit certified, but class action wasn't, so he doesn't really represent all the shareholders. And the lawyer who represented them, when you talk about getting lucky, he has applied to the court for payment of $5.6 billion. $5.6 billion.
Yeah, if this doesn't tell you everything you need to know, nothing will. The audacity to seek over $5 billion in compensation for fucking Tesla, fucking Elon, fucking shareholders, spitting in the face of democracy. It's so unreasonable and ridiculous. You can't make this stuff up. It sounds like a bad joke. Now, tinfoil hat alert, just imagine, hypothetically speaking, obviously this isn't really what happened, but just imagine that there was a law firm who shared a lot of DNA with the Vulture. And this vulturous, is that a word? Vulturous law firm happens to have received the word that Elon bad and puts out the feelers. I wonder if we can find a tiny little shareholder who'll act as a front for our case. We can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only can we fuck Elon, but we can get a multi-billion-dollar payday for doing so. Any piddly little shareholders out there want to jump on board? Pretend that you're the reason that this lawsuit's happening? Yeah? 9 shares? You? Great. Of course, that didn't actually happen. I'm just saying, wouldn't that be cool and interesting if it did happen? Kind of corrupt, but yeah.
And then he is asking for the payment to be made in shares of Tesla stock, which are depressed because of this lawsuit. It's crazy. And
that is also true. The request for compensation, not in cash, but almost exclusively, if I recall, in Tesla stock. Again, crazy is an understatement. You just can't make this shit up.
So I think that it's really unfair the way they're addressing this, and I think that he earned it and he deserves it and he should be paid it.
You've said for a long time, when we've asked you what your biggest concern about Tesla would be, is the key man theory, that so much is riding on Elon Musk being there. If he's not there, you don't think the company is worth the same. So what do you think happens if this package is not approved? What will Elon do?
I can't see inside of his mind, but I know that he has created tremendous value for everyone. I know he has a big stake in Tesla. But when I started in business in 1970, one of the people who really helped me at the very beginning of my career was Jay Pritzker. He's Tom Pritzker's dad, and he's the founder of Hyatt. And we were talking about arrangements, and he said, Ron, if you need to have a contract, then you're doing business with the wrong person.
Now, I love this take. I know exactly where it's going. I completely agree. Now, trigger alert. Of course, all the Poindexters and autists, not all the autists, but most of them, bro, you need a contract. I know where you're going. I completely agree with this sentiment. I've done a lot of business in the past, major deals and agreements. Not once have I had a signed contract on any of this shit. Except where legally necessary for my own personal real estate investments. I have to sign contracts to buy that shit. But in terms of my own businesses, business relationships, agreements, these kind of things, my word is my bond. And I don't work with people where I feel the need to have a contract. Because as Ron's pointing out here, if you feel like you need a signed contract here, you're working with the wrong people. Now, I understand if you're a terrible read of character, poor judge, you're going to get fucked operating like this. I personally am willing to take that risk. If I say I'll do something, I'll do it. And I don't make deals with people that I don't know have the same level of integrity. What's ironic here is that even in the case of this deal with Tesla, there was a signed agreement, a signed contract, and it still didn't matter because of this corrupt activist pretending to be a judge.
You can't rely on a contract to do this. And you have to, he's a handshake guy. So if I say I'm going to do something, I do something. We said as Tesla as a company, Elon, if you perform, this is what you're going to get. How are you going to go back and renege on that, especially when all the directors and all the shareholders approved it? It's crazy. So I think...
By the way, I just want to take another quick moment. Those folks currently voting no, who previously owned Tesla stock and voted yes in particular, all of them, human excrement. That's probably the most polite description. No integrity, no spine, no values, no character. They're bottom feeders. They're slime. They're the worst of the worst. They're scum. To go back on a deal to renege on an agreement. It's fucking pathetic. Weaselly behavior. Toxic, nasty wastes of atoms. It's quite an interesting tell. This one incident has really given compelling insight into the character, deep down, the nature of many Tesla shareholders. And as I've said in the past, voting no will not cure your acute case of sanding vagitis. All it's going to do is create a huge signal to everyone around you that you're an absolute piece of shit. You can't be trusted, ever, with no integrity and low character.
You know, I've lost your question, but...
Andrew's got a question, too. I think...
Hey, Ron, as you know, we are in violent agreement together on this. I've always felt from the beginning that this was a big skin in the game arrangement for Elon Musk, and that a contract should be considered a contract. Having said that, I was reading the Wall Street Journal this morning, and they have a Heard on the Street column where they made an argument actually against voting in favor of it. And one of the things they said, which was very interesting, and I wanted to get your perspective on it, was they said
that X is stealing our viewership because people don't like the fake news with an extreme left-leaning political bias, and so they're migrating in mass, flocking to X, reading content on X, seeing news break on X, and we don't like it. And since Elon owns X, we're going to do our best to diminish the guy, to tarnish his reputation, attack him from every vector possible. There'll be hit pieces on Elon, his companies, his personal life, you name it. We're going after the guy. Remember, Elon bad. Now, that was very rude of me to interrupt Andrew, but I just wanted to jump the queue. The hate stream media hates you, hates humanity, hates the truth, and importantly, has an agenda. And the current narrative is Elon bad. So, of course, many of their bottom-feeding staff have got the memo, trash Musk at all costs. And by the way, guys, I do want to underscore, as I've been predicting for some time, the hate stream media, the fake news, is dying a rapid and accelerating death. Few people who aren't so old, their brain is completely ossified, and they believe what they used to believe. They can't change their beliefs, and they know that the news is trustworthy because it was 70 years ago when I was young. Distrust the fake news. And they're moving to sources of information like X. The fake news is dying. They're desperate. And the truth is, they were going to die with or without X, but X is adding fuel to the fire. It's a massive accelerant for their demise, and they don't like it.
a lot of the shareholders in Tesla today are not necessarily the shareholders who were the shareholders in 2018. So they're new shareholders.
Yeah, by the way, they should not have the right to vote, in my opinion. And I mean that. If you didn't vote previously, you should not have the right to vote again, because this pertains to a vote that was passed 2018. Why would a new shareholder to the company have the opportunity to vote on something to approve or renege when they didn't previously vote on the same deal? Seems a bit weird, right? Is it just me? Doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Especially given the fact that in 2018, the narrative wasn't Elon bad. It was Orange Man bad. And now the narrative is Elon bad, and many of the large Tesla shareholders, pension funds and the likes, have their own vested interests and are not only voting no, but advising others to also vote no. Why do people who didn't vote back in 2018 have a say now? Doesn't seem right.
Shareholders, so they may not actually have the same sort of skin in the game or sort of feeling that you would have about this. Maybe on the basis of contract law they should, but a lot of them may see this as, frankly, just an opportunity. It's an opportunity to figure out how much money they're going to pay Elon Musk, and also how much that is ultimately going to cost them, at least in the short term. And so I would ask, what would you tell a new shareholder who maybe wasn't there in 2018 how they should think about this? And it's very unique. Because the question is prospectively. They're paying for something that happened in the past, but in many ways they're paying for something that is hopefully going to happen for them in the future.
Well, you're buying in right now at half the price it was 3 years ago. And in part, that's because of this controversy over this contract. So this is actually in your favor. And if he weren't to devote himself the way I believe he will devote himself to the company continuing, then you would be damaged as a new shareholder. You're buying into a company where you have one of the most exceptional, maybe the most exceptional, executive in this country, in the world, running your business. Do you really want to not treat him properly?
That's a really good question from Ron. I mean, Musk is the GOAT. You look at the results that the dude's produced across a broad range of industries over multiple decades. There is no other. And I mean this, it's not hyperbole. There is no other Musk in terms of value created, impact on the world, ability to execute, to do the near impossible and deliver it slightly late. There's no one. Why on earth would you want to spit in that guy's face while you're a shareholder of his only public company? You'd have to be a moron. As I've said in the past, I can't see any way that Musk being robbed of his fairly earned compensation will be positive for Tesla, the company, or Tesla shareholders. I cannot see that scenario. So why on earth would anyone vote no? And as I've said in the past, the actual answer to that question is either an acute, debilitating case of sand invagitis, either because, let's say, for example, they lost large amounts of money betting in the stocks casino on short-term Tesla options, and rather than having any personal responsibility and owning their actions, they just sort of point the finger, the stock didn't go up every time. Or they're a pathetic virtue signalling turd, in which case they're simply using this as an opportunity to signal to the world that, yes, I got the memo, Elon bad, which is also pathetic. Or they're just brain dead and they actually want to harm their investment. I think that's the only possible reasons why anyone would vote against this compensation, right? And I do mean that. I would love to hear a rational case as to why Musk getting robbed of his fairly earned compensation would be beneficial to Tesla, the company, and or Tesla stock. There ain't one. Plenty of emotional reasons, but no logical ones. So you do have to ask your question again, why would anyone be voting no? And we know the answers. It's the virtue signal, or it's because they have sand in their vagina. And that sand could be a result of Elon Musk embarrassing them. They look at their life, they look at Musk's life, they're super jealous and envious, and fuck that guy, my IQ is almost as high as his, but look, his life's better than mine, he's done more than me, I feel bad. Or alternatively, they live in their mum's basement, they hate themselves, they're depressed, they're a loser, they've never even interacted with the tit. They don't like that, and so they're lashing out, and Musk is the biggest target of all. Unfortunately for all of these folks, voting no is not going to alleviate the sand invagitis, or their inferiority complex, or their self-hatred. But it might attract some more clients to your wealth management firm that also believe that Elon bad.
Last year, there happened to be, so Tesla has 140,000 employees. To show you how desirable it is to work there, the most number one and number two jobs that are desired by graduates from the top engineering schools are Tesla and SpaceX. Last year, Tesla had 12,000 new hires. And 12,000 new hires, they had 6 million applicants. 6 million applicants for 12,000 jobs. And so think about that. The reason they have it is not because the name Tesla, not because of car, it's because of him. And so think about his ability to attract these great people to come to this business, to grow it and run it and make changes that are benefiting the entire planet. And you want to renege on a contract, on a deal you made with him?
Yeah, Ron, let me ask you, I agree 100%. He should be paid what he was promised in this contract. And the shareholders are crazy if they don't do that. But there are questions about what will incentivize him further. What makes him stay with Tesla?
Well, he's already clearly outlined that. He wants more voting rights. Musk is on the record. He's made this very clear. The guy wants to have more say when it comes to voting. That's it. No additional financial interest, although in my opinion, he should certainly be entitled to more. I would love to see a comparable compensation package again, which roughly involves 10xing the value of the company, plus massive increases in revenue and profitability over the next decade, maybe even a 15-year time horizon if he's a bit late, which will be predominantly driven by autonomy, robotaxis, and the Optimus humanoid robot. Take it to a $5+ trillion company, printing fuck tons of cash, enormous revenue, compensate the guy with more options at today's price, dangle the ultimate carrot in front of the ultimate executor, and watch what happens. I'd be all for round 3, and yes, this is the third time if it were to happen. Musk had, I believe, a 2012 compensation performance award with comparable milestones that included massive growth, just like the 2018. So this would be the third time it's happened. And just in case anyone's not quite caught up, you want to do your history and look at what Tesla was worth back in 2012? Or should I do that for you? I'll do that for you. I'll just cut to the chase. At the time of the 2012 CEO Performance Award, Tesla's market capitalization was $3.2 billion. One more time. $3.2 billion. Now, 2012 was just over a decade ago. Tesla's market cap today about $550 billion. Okay. The value of the company, since the first CEO performance incentive, the first carrot was dangled in front of Musk to perform and add value for shareholders. The value of Tesla, the company, has increased 170 times. Now, let's put that in context. If you had $10,000 invested in Tesla at the time of the first 2012 compensation package, which was performance driven, you put $10,000 in, you're still holding it today because you're not a moron, you didn't trade in and out. You now have $1.7 million in just over a decade. It is my strong belief that extraordinary performance should be incentivized and rewarded with extraordinary compensation. communists, which by the way is just a code word for lazy motherfucker who just wants to point the finger and not take personal ownership for their life, not to be responsible, not to put in the hard work. They want their fair share of what others have earned. By the way, what is someone else's fair share of what you've earned? Oh wait, nothing. The communists will say, but Elon's got lots already, that's not fair, he's got enough. And I would say, go read some Thomas Sowell, you fucking moron. Oh wait, don't do that. You might change your mind. I personally believe that all leaders of all companies on Earth should be solely compensated based on performance. Of course, there'd be about 0 CEOs on the planet who would actually sign up for such a deal. Something Mary Barra. So I personally would like to see a new compensation package for Musk spanning at least the next 10 years. However, the time frame is not what's important. The milestones that need to be achieved within that time frame are what matters. Dangle a market capitalization carrot. In part, why? Because that directly benefits shareholders of the company. But in addition, just like the last compensation package, have some additional tranches that are tied to either revenue growth and or earnings growth. So you need market cap plus revenue and or market cap plus earnings. It's pretty simple. If the company grows revenue massively and the value of the company grows massively and the company's profits grow massively, one milestone is met. Grow them even more, the next milestone is met. And Musk gets paid in options and, importantly, additional voting rights. Now, Musk has expressed concerns about developing AI within Tesla if he doesn't have a huge say in terms of voting. So here's a crazy idea. Why not directly tie a huge increase in his voting power to milestones relating to AI? For example, first Tesla Robotaxi does its first commercial fare. Bam, suddenly he gets an extra 10% voting rights. Something like that. That's a major milestone. First Optimus humanoid robot sold to an external customer. Bam, another massive increase in voting rights. Simple, so simple. And what do you think happens if you dangle these massive carrots in front of Musk? History indicates that he's probably going to perform and reach those carrots in record time.
Tesla, what makes him keep his AI plans within Tesla when he is starting xAI, an alternative AI startup? Do you need to incent him further? Because he has basically said that he thinks he should own about 25% of the voting control at Tesla, or he won't build it there.
It's interesting. So we'll now go to the Elon ecosystem. And he has xAI, which we're going to be an investor in. And what that is that comes about because Elon needs compute, massive amounts of compute.
You're an investor in xAI because of the ownership you have, because you're an owner in Twitter or in X as well? Is that?
And you
put an additional money in.
Yes.
Okay, but what about for Tesla shareholders who don't invest in all of this?
They're going to benefit from the fact that xAI has been created because of the massive compute. I mean, they're going to build 100,000 GPU data centers. So the data center business historically is the cloud business, and it's been growing 20-30% a year in units. The cloud, that's Amazon AWS. That's what that is, and their returns on capital have been declining. Now it's about 7%. It was in the high 7s. It's now about 7%. And those are centers that are $300 million.
But let me just ask, we can talk a little bit more about this, but the issue that comes up is the potential conflict. To have somebody who's partially at Tesla, who's partially at SpaceX, who's partially at X, who's partially at xAI, how are you knowing if you're getting your money's worth? How are you knowing, instead of having it all under one umbrella, like all your funds are under one umbrella, how do you make sure that there's not a conflict of interest? There was a CNBC story yesterday that took a look at xAI, Elon sending NVIDIA information asking
chips.
That the chips that were granted, that were there in line, that for Tesla be given to xAI instead. And that raises the question of shareholders.
Now hold up a sec, we do need some context. First of all, this from CNBS was fake news. Why I say that is extremely important. Context was absent, as I discussed at the time. What occurred, and Musk clarified this, was that Tesla was to take the delivery of a bunch of NVIDIA AI training compute. However, they had not yet set up the facilities, which includes the physical space, the server racks, the networking equipment, the cables, the cooling system, the thermal management, the data centers, the physical security, the cybersecurity, the ventilation. You don't just take delivery of a fuck ton of AI chips and press the on button and suddenly you're magically training your AI. It doesn't work like that. Tesla did not yet have the facilities up and running, not ready to just plug and play. Therefore, rather than having them sit around in a fucking warehouse, do nothing, Musk is like, well, send them to one of the other companies. We can't do anything with them yet anyway. This is actually a positive for Tesla because the alternative would have been to take delivery of these things and have them sitting around doing fuck all with a huge capital investment and no return. This was misinterpreted by a lot of people as Musk favoring one company over another. People who definitely don't have an incentive to say out loud that Elon bad, BS vote no. So again, it's important because the impression a casual NPC viewer of CNBS would get hearing this would be, oh, that what? Wait, he fucked over Tesla to help one of his other companies? That's not very good. It's exactly the opposite of what happened. Again, the worst outcome would have been Tesla taking delivery of these things and not yet being able to get them to operate. They'd just be sitting around doing nothing. What a waste of money.
Holders who are not invested in the entire Elon ecosystem, do they run the risk of being shortchanged when Elon moves things from one project to the next? If you have Tesla employees who are working at Twitter part-time, if you have things that get moved around, how do Tesla shareholders benefit from?
Now I'm going to take this one, Becky, because I can personally attest to the fact, having had many private conversations with people who've moved from one company to another. Here's an example. Did you know that SpaceX engineers, some of the best and brightest on the planet, temporarily got a change of pace by shifting over to Tesla to work on, wait for it, what was it? Oh, that's right, the Cybertruck. The hottest product in a history of products, bar none. Yeah, that's right. Musk has the advantage of having an army of the world's best and brightest engineers, elite talent, the best of the best. If they're getting a little bit bored at SpaceX on rockets, hey guys, you can come and work on the Cybertruck for a bit if you want. Oh, by the way, we need some crazy, incredible material scientists from SpaceX. Could you guys come over and help us create a new material never before known to science for the Cybertruck exoskeleton? That'd be great. Can we borrow you guys? Yeah, cool. No, whatever. It's a huge benefit having this massive pool of talent. It can be construed as a negative. Oh, yeah, Elon could just take everyone smart from Tesla to another company. That's bullshit. But again, this is some small brain thinking. The way to think about this is the talent pool of incredible engineers, experts, the best of the best, who really want to work on meaningful, impactful, real-world projects. And they all want to work for Musk. This is a huge upside.
From the Elon infrastructure.
All related party transactions are reviewed by the directors and audit committees and independent people to make sure that they're appropriate and fair to every company. All these companies benefit each other. Elon spends way more than half of his time on Tesla compared to all these other entities that he's doing. But these are all the entities, they're all benefiting Tesla. And as far as the chips that went from NVIDIA to XAI, it was because Tesla has invested tremendously in data centers for themselves. 50,000 is one that they're building right now, GPUs. 25,000 is the largest it's ever built before, and our guy is building 100,000, the new one. So we think about AWS. AWS comes about because they have too much capacity for the cloud, so therefore when they had excess, they sold it. That's what XAI is. In addition to that, XAI creates Grok. Grok ultimately is going to be your assistant. You would drive around in a car. Also, Tesla is going to be able to use the compute that's been produced by and owned by XAI. XAI got those chips because Tesla, so many X's, that he has over-ordered. He doesn't need them right now. He's buying them later, so XAI needs them now. We have nowhere to store them at Tesla. So XAI gets these chips, but the next level is coming to Tesla. So basically, it's about who needs them right now, and then here's this excess.
I mean, it makes perfect sense for somebody like you who's invested in all of these different things because you're going to win on either side of it. Is there an argument that Tesla shareholders should have a stake in XAI too?
Well,
Now, I can make the argument that it'd be amazing if Tesla did buy a stake in XAI. I'm not sure if Becky's question was, should Tesla just automatically get a slice of XAI for nothing? And the answer to that is no. However, as I've said in the past, there is some overlap. What XAI developing with Grok, the LLM, will be necessary in Tesla vehicles and ultimately to solve AGI. And what Tesla's developed with real-world vision with full self-driving is the other necessary building block of AGI, which is the real-world intelligence, vision in the real world. So clearly each company has something that the other will want. Plus, Tesla has the data stream for FSD, and they've developed the Dojo chip. And then XAI has lots of training compute. So it's certainly possible that there could be some no-cash transaction in which Tesla gets a stake in XAI. In fact, I made some comments on this following some discussion on X, and Musk did say that it makes sense for Tesla to invest in XAI. So I'm not sure how Becky was framing that question. Certainly, Tesla shouldn't get any XAI for nothing, but it does make sense for them to get a stake in the company.
They're going to be using the services, and then the XAI is going to be getting benefit, I presume, of some sort for selling the services back to Tesla, but Tesla's avoiding a cost that they would otherwise have to invest in chips, to invest in these data centers. These data centers are $3 or $5 billion now. They used to be $300 million.
So your point is, as long as an independent board oversees this and signs off on these decisions, it's okay?
Yes. So that's the case in all instances. But he has this whole infrastructure now where all these businesses, whether it's... So one of the things I was asking about, I said, well, gee, when he bought Twitter and renamed it X, where did that, and he said he bought it because he wanted to have the ultimate truth-seeking algorithm. And then all of a sudden, we've learned that we have data that X has that is unique, real-time, no one else has it. So what's going to be commoditized is this foundational, the ChatGPTs and Groks ultimately. But what is unique about Grok is this data. So when
Ron is correct. The X data stream, as in all the posts on the entire system, is an incredible source for training a large language model such as Grok. And as far as I'm aware, Grok is the only LLM with access to the X data stream. Now, this may not necessarily remain the case. However, if anyone else wanted access to that data stream, they would need to pay an absolute fuck ton to X. Oh, speaking of data streams, Tesla definitely doesn't have any data, especially not their fleet of 6+ million vehicles collecting it 24/7. Oh, wait, no, they do. I wonder what the value of Tesla's existing, let alone future data stream is.
When he bought Twitter, did he have in his mind that there's the opportunity to have this data of tremendous value for licensing? When he decided he wanted to go to Mars for SpaceX, did he really think initially that, hey, there's a real opportunity here for internet around the world, and there's going to be hundreds of billions of dollars of revenue opportunity? When he started off with EVs for Tesla, did he really think that this is really going to merge into self-driving, where you can make hundreds of billions of dollars a year of extra profits? And Grok, to hear this is going to be self-driving and you're going to have connected cars all around the world from SpaceX. All these businesses link up to, it's the ecosystem. It's the Elon ecosystem. And I think it's really interesting when you look at it in that way. So Elon benefits where all these businesses are on, and he couldn't have attracted the engineers he wanted to attract for artificial intelligence to Tesla. They didn't want to work at Tesla.
Right.
So he's got, you remember, OpenAI, he's the founder. And ChatGPT, that comes out of him. He just didn't like the way it was being run because it's supposed to be not-for-profit. And then all of a sudden, he's questioning the governance of it. So now he wants to have a competitor. So there's a control over it, so it can't damage humanity.
I just wonder, as an investor, clearly he has been incredible with what he's done for Tesla. I just wonder, as an investor, if you worry about the future, about what it means for Tesla. And again, if you're not invested in all of these, no question that Elon's got this halo effect and people want to come work for him. He is a huge draw on all of these issues. I understand your thought about him being the key man on all of this stuff. Would you invest now at these prices just in Tesla, or would you invest in other Elon companies instead?
The biggest investment we have right now is in Tesla.
Yeah, but your dollar cost average was what, $13? Would you buy at $176, or would you try and get into XAI, or would you try and get into SpaceX?
Well, XAI, we're going to have $150 million invested.
Yeah.
In SpaceX, we invested from 2017 to now, we've invested about $1 billion. It's worth $2.3 billion. Tesla is worth about $4 or $5 billion.
But your new money is going to his newer venture.
If I had a chance to buy more stock in Tesla right now, I'd buy more stock in Tesla.
Well, you can. Why?
Well, because I have limits as far as what percentages I'm allowed to buy for these individuals.
Because you're full up on your Tesla.
Plus, I don't have infinite capital.
Well, that makes two of us. For the record, I don't manage money for other people, just myself. And so I am still buying Tesla stock with literally every spare cent. And I'm very, very happy that it's only about a $500 million market cap right now. With Tesla on the cusp of autonomy, my prayers to the flying spaghetti monster were most certainly answered. But because I don't manage money for other people and I don't have any limits, my portfolio, the SMR ETF, is 100% Tesla. And I don't have any mad butthurt clients. Now, it's interesting, Ron, on the record there, saying that he would buy more Tesla if he could, but A, he doesn't have infinite capital, and B, he can't in any of the funds because they're already at a very high allocation. So if Ron could, he would, and meanwhile, I can and am. Interesting.
And so when I have chances to buy, I recommend, when we get new accounts, bigger positions I'm able to buy in Tesla, I buy. In SpaceX, I think in SpaceX we're going to double our money over the next 3 or 4 years and double it again in 2 or 3 years after that. And then in the 2030s, make 5 times. I think we're going to make 20 times in SpaceX over the next 15 or 20 years. I'm 81. There's not many people who are 81 who are thinking about 15, 20-year time horizons, but I'm one of them. In Tesla, I think in the next 15 years, next 10 years, we're going to make 4, 5, 6 times our money. But I can't even put a top on how much we're going to make in Tesla because there's so many businesses. This robotics business is going to be unbelievable. With robotics for him, I think that it's going to cost $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 for a robot. But there's billions of people on the planet. He thinks everyone's going to have a robot, and you're going to charge money. This is like the ecosystem again, where you're going to get charged every year for software for using your robot. That's going to keep getting better and better and better. And when you think about a factory worker gets $100,000 or $200,000 or $150,000 a year, and all of a sudden you have robots that are able to do that, to make all these factory workers more and more productive. And Elon says the GDP is the number of people times the product you produce. All of a sudden you're not going to need the people to produce the product. Everyone's lives is going to be dramatically better because of AI, because of robotics. Robotics are going to be a really big deal for Tesla. And that is not in the stock in any way, shape, or form.
Now, if history is anything to go by, and I'd love to be wrong, but if history is anything to go by, I suspect that Becky is probably going to almost entirely ignore Ron's comments that there's no upper limit on how much Tesla could grow due to humanoid robots, or the extremely logical argument that over time a robot that becomes increasingly more capable and can then do 6 figures worth of work every year. I mean, like, how much is that worth? What can you charge for that? GDP is just a function of useful labor. I've got a funny feeling Becky's going to go, cool story, bro. Now, let's talk about the next point, instead of really letting that one sink in. I agree with Ron, by the way. I modeled Tesla out over many decades. I only share publicly on Patreon over the next 10 years. But I just want to see, what are the possible implications of a humanoid robot at scale? You would imagine if these things become increasingly more capable, aka useful, aka can add more value to the marketplace over time, that in theory you could charge more and more money for the software monthly that actually allows them to add that value. It's only a matter of time until Tesla's vehicle fleet exceeds 100 million. Over a long enough time frame, if Tesla's successful with the humanoid robot, the same will be true with the humanoid robot. And it won't necessarily stop there. There could easily, over the long term, be in excess of 1 billion, 2 billion, 5 billion, 10 billion humanoid robots on Earth. What's Tesla's share of that, and how much is each one of those bringing in per week, per month, per year in software revenue? The numbers get utterly absurd. Oh, by the way, in case there's 3 people watching who don't already know, you can access my Tesla valuation model on Patreon. Click the link in the pinned comment and join at the investor level and above. You can see my Tesla bot estimates over the next 10 years. But like I said, the real impact, it's beyond that. So Ron has said a massive thing here, massive statement. No upper limit. Can't even imagine the possibilities of Tesla's humanoid robot decades from now. And I understand why. If you take the time to do the numbers like I have, they get so fucking absurd. You're like, what? I must have made a mistake. Let me just, what? No, that can't be right. Let me check. Wait, I have to check that again. That can't possibly be right. Wait, that's right. Holy shit. Don't say I didn't warn you. Now, let's see if Becky proves me wrong and actually spend some time dwelling on the potential implications of a humanoid robot and there being no upside limitation for Tesla. Let's see if she has anything to say about that or not.
I understand the robotics angle. I understand the self-driving and using AI and the information that Tesla already has as a huge treasure trove. I think I'm a little less convinced about using Twitter/X as a huge treasure trove, just as I am Reddit, because you.
Well, that was amazing. I understand the robot angle. That's all she had to say. Do you really, Becky? Do you really?
You can have any number of opinions and any number of stuff that sometimes is factual, sometimes is not. That makes less of a makes a little less sense to me.
They have a new service that people, they've actually had it for a while on Twitter that was ignored. It's called Community Spaces. Mm-hmm. And I don't remember exactly how many people there are on it, but they crowdsource opinions. So if you have an opinion about a topic and someone posts a topic on Twitter or on X that is contrary to your belief, well, you're notified by Community Spaces. If you're one of these 70,000 outsourced people or anyone who has an interest in this before or posted on it before, you're notified.
I think he's referring to community notes.
That this has been posted. Do you think it's accurate? So it's outsourced, and then a very large percentage of postings have actually been taken down by the people who post them when they've been criticized for being false. And so you're having a truth-seeking opportunity here, and that data that they're going to have is going to help robotics for Tesla. So everything feeds each other. Every single thing he does is helping everything else he does.
You are a huge believer in the ecosystem. You have been since the start. It's made you an awful lot of money. And again, for people who are just tuning in, you're here today to say that you are voting your shares in favor of Elon Musk's pay package.
I'm voting my shares in that favor, and I'm told that I'm not supposed to tell anyone else about how to vote their shares because it's a proxy solicitation. But I'm voting my shares, and I think that's the benefit. By the way, just to give you a feeling for how other people think about him, Jensen from NVIDIA, right? He says the technology that Elon has for self-driving is remarkable, not like anyone else. Mobileye, competitor, says it's amazing what they've done with this company. I also think that when you look at Apple, at NVIDIA, how did they make it? They made it because they had something that was good for games, for gaming. When Amazon came along, and what Amazon had was they were a bookseller, and look what that's come from them. Yeah. Tesla has cars. The cars are going to be like books or like games for the other companies. Cars are a business for them. They have all this other technology. This company is going to be an enormous company. I love Tesla.
Great analogy, by the way. Interestingly enough, I made an example a few weeks ago, maybe a month ago. How many analysts today estimate how many books Amazon's going to sell this quarter and get butthurt if they sell less books than they expected? Oh, wait, that's right. None yet. What are all the Wall Street analysts covering Tesla stock laser focused on? Deliveries this quarter and next quarter and this year, and that's it. A big mistake. Epic discussion from Ron. The dude spit facts, clearly. There is not a communist bone in Ron's body. And I strongly agree with his comments about there being essentially no upper limit to how much Tesla could grow in value if their humanoid robot is even a mild success. Hence, still buying Tesla stock with every spare cent. Interestingly enough, I too have not advised anybody on which way to vote regarding Musk's compensation and the move to Delaware. I have, however, shared my thoughts on those voting yes versus no, and I stand by them. Everyone should vote. I'll just leave it at that. Want more content? Early access? Bunch of perks? Click the links in the pinned comment. AG1 is awesome. I've been taking it daily now for more than 3 years. It's a great way to fill in nutritional gaps. It's packed full of vitamins, minerals, and whole food source nutrients. Plus, has prebiotics, probiotics, and adaptogens to improve gut health, regularity, and help your body handle stress. I'm always looking for an edge to help me feel and perform my best, which is why I haven't missed a day of AG1 for more than 3 years. And I haven't missed a daily video in more than 3 years. Must be a coincidence, right? Just try it and see how you feel. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. But don't take my word for it. This is what viewers of the channel had to say after trying AG1. I feel like I have a lot more energy since I started on AG1. By the way, viewer, that makes 2 of us. On to the next. Just got my AG1 in the mail. Legit feeling the effects after day 3. This viewer's been taking AG1 for 8 months and says, what an investment. Another. 3 months ago, I started AG1 and have been enjoying the evenness of alertness and energy that lasts the day. I just started the wife on it too. Are you convinced yet? I mean, hey, it's worth trying, right? Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR, or I can keep going. Plenty more to come. This viewer, after about a month on AG1, definitely a lack of fatigue in the afternoon. Pleasant side effect is that my coffee intake has imploded and is almost down to 0. One more? Yeah, why not? I honestly feel younger and will be continuing to use AG1. This stuff really is crazy good. I didn't think it would be, but this stuff is awesome. It really is what everyone is saying. One more? Don't mind if I do. I've just received my 3rd month supply. I've drank it every day. I have so much energy throughout most of the day. I'm productive, started a new business, started socializing, refurbished a boat. It's no coincidence. Thank you for your persistence, your integrity, and your insights. Now look, these are not my words. These are not my testimonials. This is what you guys and girls are saying. Maybe it's 100% placebo effect. But even if that's the case, I think it's money well spent. Click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR and get yourself a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 travel packs. If you're still skeptical, hey, I don't blame you. Everyone on the planet seems to be promoting AG1 now, but guess what? They weren't nearly 3 years ago when I had this to say privately to my Patreon audience before there was a relationship, when I was asked about what I was doing for my health, energy, and so on. Just sharing my genuine, honest thoughts about a product I'd recently discovered that was at the time called Athletic Greens. Now, AG1. If I could only recommend one supplement to take, Athletic Greens, and I'm not getting paid to say this, Athletic Greens is a fucking game changer. I cannot believe how effective this is. No longer having a lack of energy in the afternoons. It's fucking amazing. There's only one thing to recommend seriously. Try Athletic Greens. You won't go back. So obviously, just like Elon Musk is a liar, a fraud, a con man, a scammer, a fake engineer, and Tesla's going bankrupt, you shouldn't trust that guy from about 3 years ago who, without any financial incentive, was promoting this product to his audience on Patreon when they were asking about health and what he's doing for supplements. Because obviously, there was some other reason he recommended that, obviously. Not sure what it was, but don't trust that guy. And all the testimonials, like my mental game's improved with AG1. I feel better than ever. I'm so impressed I've bought it for both my parents. I feel more focused and have better digestion. Incredible difference. No more afternoon fatigue. It's relieved gut issues. These are all just obviously fake testimonials from fake people. Right? Wrong. Just try it. Unless you hate yourself. If you hate yourself and you don't even want to risk possibly feeling better, this is not for you. But for everyone else, what's the worst that could happen? Try it for a month. See how you feel. It's a no-brainer. Just click the link in the pinned comment or head to drinkag1.com/SMR. You'll get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 plus 5 travel packs. And you'll take the colossal risk that maybe you might have a similar experience to some of the people whose testimonials we've read in this video.